Seni sevdim günden güne, daha dolgun, daha ince, düşünmeden, taşınmadan, berbezeksiz, çok sadece. Seni sevdim yine həsrət, yağış kimi, leysan kimi. Seni sevdim gözəlliyə, heyran olan insan kimi. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Mahnılarda anılmadım, dastanlarda yoktur adım. Kerem ünlü aşıkların cergesinde yer almadım. İçimdeki ağrıların ateşinden kül olmadım. İçimdeki ağrıların ateşinden kül olmadım. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Mecnun olup dertli eşkle səhralara üst tutmadım. İnsanlardan uzak düşüp ceyran cüyür ovutmadım. Xəyallara səcdə qılıb vüsalını unutmadım. Xəyallara səcdə qılıb vüsalını unutmadım. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece. Sadece çok sevdim seni. Seni sevdim çok sadece.
contento per cruda beltà, nel ciel di bellezza s'accreschi fierezza e manchi pietà, che sempre qual scoglio all'onda d'orgoglio mia fede sarà. La speme fallace rivolgami il piede, di lettone pace non scendano a me, e l'enviata d'oro mi nieghi ristoro di buona merce, tra doglia infinita, tra spreme e tradita vivrà la mia fede. Pentita, languente, sospiri Şəhərlərin hayküyündən qaçmaq istəyirəm hərdən insanlardan bugündən bezirəm müdrik səbirdən dünyanın gərdişinə dözümdən uzaqlaşmaq istəyirəm özümdən özümdən gözlərimi yumuram elaçsız qalanda təkliyə cumuram ilk imkanım anda o anda bir sadə tütək almaq və təklik havası çalmaq geçir ürəyimdən təklik fikrimin süsləndiyi ən uca yüksəklik təklik xəyalımın bəsləndiyi ən xoş gerçəklik yoruluram şəhərlərin hayküyündən, qaçmaq istəyirəm hərdən insanlardan bugündən. Bezirəm müdrik səbirdən, dünyanın gərdişinə, gözümünə uzaqlaşmaq istəyirəm özümünə. Özümünə gözlərimi yumuram, mələkisiz qalanda təkliyə cumuram. İlk imkanım olanda, o anda bir sadə tütək almaq və təklik havası çalmaq keçir ürəyimdən. Təklik fikrimin süsləndiyi ən uca yüksəklik. Təklik xəyalımın bəsləndiyi ən xoş gerçəklik.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Shall we start our panel now? It's exactly 40 minutes. So I'm very happy to welcome everybody to panel number 3, which will help us go even deeper into the links between Dante and Nizami. Our panel is called Semiotics at Crossroads of Religions. I am chairing it. My name is Christine van Ruymbeke from Cambridge University. It's a short panel. We have only 2 presenters, each 15 minutes. So I will be warning the speakers 1 minute before they have to stop, and I thank them very much for keeping to the time, 15 minutes. And then at the end of these presentations, we'll have some time for comments and questions to our speakers. So our first speaker is Professor Rafik Novruzov from Baku Slavic University in Azerbaijan. Welcome, Professor Novruzov. You are going to speak to us about the concept of the soul as interpreted by Nizami Ganjavi and Dante Aligheri. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Buongiorno, signore e signori. The work of 2 prominent representatives of the Eastern and Western European medieval literature, Nizami Ganjavi and Dante Aligheri, occupies special place in world literature. A comparative study of the works of Nizami and Dante involves examining the multiple aspects of the general and distinctive features of philosophical and religious approach to human life and deep. Of course, this universal problem has always occupied the mind of leading thinkers of all time, At the same time, each generation of poets and thinkers considered this universal problem in accordance with the knowledge, conditions, and understandings of their era. It is precisely taking these facts into account the author set themselves the goal of exploring the concept of soul in the works of Azerbaijan and Italian philosopher poets. To achieve this goal, it is necessary to solve the following tasks. 1. The identification of the components of the concept of soul. 2. And understanding of its structural, peripheral components, life and death. 3. The establishment of connections between the concept of bodily and spiritual. 4. The definition of ways of knowing life and quality of the soul as the basis of unity with Creator. The works of two ingenious writers and thinkers of the Middle Ages and divided to numerous studies. The life and work various aspects of the wood view, analysis, art, the philosophical works. In this work, extensive literature is just used both on the specific work of each of the attractive authors and on the subject that unites them specifically. The research materials Nizami poems from this 5 Hamsa and the novel New Life, Vita Nuova, the scientific treatise Feast, Convivio, Divine Comedy, La Commedia later, la Divina Commedia Dante. The research methods are general scientific observation, comparative analysis, synthesis, and elements of discursive analysis. In the view of Nizami, a person comes to this world in a bodily shell in which a divine particle called soul is placed. This indissoluble connection of the soul and the body is the integrity previously conceived by the Creator. A gross material body in order to gain the experience of life needs constant regulation from the side of the soul. Without appropriate interaction, the meaning as the purpose of a person is lost. In the poem Seven Beatles, the Azerbaijan poets, it was the following. A similar source was expressed by Dante in the treatise Feast. The fact that according to the nature of the simple body predominant in the subject, he naturally likes to swoop down, and therefore when his body moves up more tired. According to the secondary nature of the body compound, he likes the place and time of its occurrence. And because each naturally has a stronger body in the place where he was born and during his birth greater than anywhere and ever. Of course, that each of the thinkers enjoys an convenient lexical and stylistic features. As it can be seen from the analysis of the text, the views of Nizami&Dante on a person's choice of the righteous path are the same, but the philosophy of their views on choosing the right path of life should also reveal the means to achieve it. And in the definition of this aspect, the two great thinkers and also unanimous. The fact is that is any aspect, philosophical, religious, social, and other, love is not only universal, but also an internal means of creation. Love is the basis of the universe and the essence of the absolute. It was she who made possible the origin of man, and she is also an integral part of his heart. Perfect love casts out fear, enlightens the mind, cleanses the heart, and attracts rewards from the holy person. Perfect love does not give in the feelings and passes, but is guided by the ambition of this manifestation of wisdom and prudence. Reasonable experience of human life in its collection and procession of materials involves the gradual abandonment on this temporary personality and focus and permanent internal life. The comparative study of the creative heritage of Nizami Ganjavi and Dante Aligheri on the subject of understanding of concept soul gives us reason to conclude that they are conceptually the same. The first argument is the shared realm of interest focused on specific literature sources. Among the basic works of the ancient philosophers Aristotle, Plato, Platinum, Cicero, Seneca, Pythagoras, and others. Modern Western thinkers, Albert the Great, Thomas Aquinas, Roger Bacon, Raymond Lull, and others. And the universal Muslim luminaries, Ibn Sina, Al-Ghazali, Al-Farabi, Ibn Rushd, Ibn Bajjah, Ibn of Tufail, and Fərqli, and others. Philosophical study of the role of the soul in the human life of these thinkers have influenced the formation of these own views of Nizami and Dante to the understanding of the concept of soul. Although they belonged to different monotheistic religions, apple different words, different concepts, but they understood and have learned one universal reality, which is on spirit. Signore e signori, al suddetto studio comparativo dell'eredità creativa di Nizami e Dante per la loro comprensione del concetto di anima si dà motivo di concludere che sono concettualmente la stessa cosa. Nizami e Dante sono unanimi
Nizami and Dante, I have to say, today have enriched our literature, have enriched our culture with the concept of the soul, and they are treated as the original from the physical and spiritual acting space, and they have been referring to specific meaning of soul in their work.
Thank you for delivering it in English and in Italian. This is really very kind of you. We don't have questions straight away. We will have questions and reactions at the end of our session. So I'm very happy to call Professor Tahira Mammad now to come to take the floor and to talk to us on her chosen topic. We, thanks to Professor Novruzov's really very careful planning of his presentation, we are right on time and even 2 minutes early. So I propose we start immediately with the second panelist this afternoon. And Professor Mammad, who are from...
Ben bütün konferansın iştirakçılarını salamlayıram.
My greetings to all conference participants. Today is an important day for us because we're united at the conference dedicated to two thinkers. If we talk about Nizami Ganjavi and Dante Aligheri, we can see the influence of religious archetypes and concepts. In the words of both poets, there is an attitude to religious saints, prophets, especially Jesus and Prophet Muhammad and their relatives, their close ones. These are intersections and separations in these relations. When Nizami speaks of the prophets, he is approaching their identities from the principles of the whole book of Quran. According to the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad is the last in the system of prophecy, and the heavenly religions are complemented by the revelations. In his works, Nizami Ganjavi accepts the Prophet Muhammad as a messenger of God and expresses his love and trust in him. Unlike Nizami Ganjavi, Dante shows Dante portrays some discrimination and bigotry towards the prophets, and namely towards Prophet Muhammad. Dante portrays Prophet Muhammad and Ali as one of the sinners in the 9th section of the 8th circle of hell. This, of course, affects the religious feelings of Muslims and is not well accepted. Although Nizami Ganjavi treats Jesus as a prophet, he still prefers Prophet Muhammad. And this is obviously not that well accepted for Christians who consider Jesus to be the latest prophet. We have compared different similarities and differences. We have read different books as well as different annotations, and we have read different treasures of mysteries. And in the relevant parts, prophet is described with love, with special respect. And all of the prophets are listed here, as well as Saint Mary and others, and different motives about their lives and sufferings. And specific characters are used as metaphors. In the Treasure of Mysteries, the author talks about the Adam, the first person. In the third one, talks about Prophet Suleiman. In the 10th, about Prophet Jesus. In the Divine Comedy, verses 34 to 39, the 26th Song of Hell speaks of the Prophet Elijah and his ascension to heaven. The names of David and Solomon are mentioned in the verses 86 and 139. When remembering the prophets, Dante prefers short episodes rather than a description. Nizami is using episode motifs and broader descriptions. In the songs of the Araf section of the Divine Comedy, people who pray for the cleansing of their sins often remember Mary. And we can talk in the process of purification, they approach a tree, and those who look at it remember Adam and whisper his name. In the 86, So, in the verses 29 to 31, Eve's sins are mentioned. And in the song, Eliah, Moses, Mary appear and disappear as if in a dream, as if to show the way to those who are being tested. In Paradise, Dante portrays Mary, Eve, and Beatrice as complementary creatures. In verses 22-23 of the second hymn, a parallelism is established between Beatrice and the holiness of the heavens. According to Dante, the ancestors of the first human beings was Adam. Verse 12. And then it talks that from his rib, Eve was created. Verse 13. In the 26th song of the Parade, the poet meets Adam and talks to him. Just as Nizami considered the Prophet Muhammad to be the first creation of light, the Dante accepts Adam the same way. Per Nizami, the first and the last prophet was Prophet Muhammad, and I'll talk about it. And I have to tell that research has been conducted on the content and architecture of the Divine Comedy to clearly see the effect of aspiration, and an attempt has been made to substantiate the idea put forward. This became especially relevant in 1919 after the publication of the Spanish scholar Palacios' book, Dante and Islam. I have to say, this work was not univocally welcomed and led to discussions. While looking for traces of aspiration in the structure and content of the work, Palacios observes the influence of Ibn Arabi more than in the description and presentation. Nizami was not part of the comparison. The influence of Miraj on literature went mainly into two directions, and none of them are referring Nizami and have them compared to Nizami. The main point that brings Nizami and Dante together in the matter of ancestion is the floor on which the throne is located. The aesthetic passages to 9 floors. Before Dante, Nizami presented the number of passages as 9. And I have to state that in Ibn Arabi, the number was 7, and those who compare claim that Dante talked about 9 floors. But prior to Dante, Nizami was referring to 9 floors. In the 7 beauties, once again, Nizami includes singing of the accession and the narration of the hadith. And in 7 beauties, the prophet goes through all these layers. As we can see, accession of the prophet is above 9. And it is the same as in Dante's, that God was, the creator is placed above at floor 10. Another point that brings Dante closer to Nizami is the question of the poet's own accession. In addition to that aspiration of Prophet, Nizami describes the poet's spiritual aspirations. In the Divine Comedy, the poet himself is a rising star. Sometimes there are debates that this accession is not happening. But, and I have to say that, prior to the Dante, in Nizami's works, we can see this process. And Nizami is presenting that those who escaped from the body to the world of the throne, they put the wing of Gabriel on their soul. And here it doesn't talk about Prophet Muhammad, he talks about himself. Another point that brings Nizami and Dante closer together is the fact that they both began their journey to the other world with the help of a master. In both Nizami and Dante, the master, some guide, is helping them to move. And also, in the Treasure of Mysteries, in the verses 608, 611, the poet's spiritual aspiration and his departure from the 9 realms under the guidance of a master can be also considered a preliminary model of Dante's journey. Nizami says, he took a literature class, he taught mathematics, I was surrounded by 9 angels, our path is roundabout, crooked and foggy, however my master did not deviate from this path. The fact that a beautiful woman, after the master helped her, that she breathed her last air, is also in Dante's book where Dante is accessing a journey in journey to heaven, Beatrice is leading him. Attitude towards Jesus and Prophet Muhammad and their close people in the works of Nizami and Dante deserve another study. In every book of Khamsa, the definition and descent of Prophet Muhammad have an important status. First of all, as I've said, per Nizami, the Prophet Muhammad was the first and the last. He says that it was the first book, the first on the wide door. It's also clear from Surah As-Saf that the Prophet Jesus announces that the Prophet of Islam will be arriving and his name will be Ahmad. So when it's a way how the Prophet Muhammad was presented. In this section, definition of the last prophet, for the Nur Muhammad belief, the true prophet is the belief in having Prophet Muhammad as the last one comes from also his belief in his comparisons. And Nizami, who has such a belief, compares the Prophet Jesus and Prophet Adam to the Prophet Muhammad. He says he's a master of the field, and Christ is his servant. He's a messenger of the God. Nizami says that Prophet Muhammad was created from light, and Dante gives all those who follow the path of Jesus who received light from the eternal light, a light in paradise. Beatrice smiles as she shows the poet the glory of Jesus in paradise, and Dante marvels at the light on her face. In the continuation of 23rd verses, 23rd song, when Beatrice saw his admiration, she tells Dante that Jesus is everywhere, that Mary is radiant with symbols of roses and lilies. In the introduction of Book of Alexander, he likens the patience and hard work that of the Prophet Jesus. At the end of the letter, at the end of Iskender Name, Nizami talks about the light of Mary and the light of Jesus. In the fourth beautification, in the verse 2073, Nizami Ganjavi mentions Omar and Ali praising and without dividing Sunni Shia congregations. Dante, on the other hand, not only shows the wound inflicted on the Prophet Ali by splitting his head in two, but also hints in the division between Sunni and Shias. Nizami in Khamsa expressed his faith in Jesus the Christ and his miracles, his love for people, his ability to give life to enemy, and expressed in his faith in poetic figures. And he says that everyone is disgusted with a dead dog in the marketplace, while Prophet Jesus looks and is praising his teeth.
Məhəmməd Peyğəmbər İslam dininə görə ən kamil insan sayılır.
In the Divine Comedy, that as the Prophet Muhammad is considered the most perfect man in Islam, so Jesus is considered the most perfect man in the Divine Comedy in the verses 82 to 84. And from the fourth song of Paradise, it's clear that the angels were close to God. And we can see that Jesus and all the angels are closest and are among the spirits. So the fact that Prophet Muhammad was not presented because Dante was not accepting his prophecy. In the song 33 of the Paradise, Dante's religious beliefs and convictions are fully clarified, showing his unity. And he says, I am astonished in the bosom of the supreme light. I saw three similar cases with different colors. In the clear depths, three cases were visible, as if it was one situation reflected in one another. In verse 126, Dante metaphorically explains God's reflection of his light in Jesus. You, the eternal light who created your image. As it mentioned above, according to Nizami, the first being created by God was Prophet Muhammad. From these general parallels we bring to your attention, it's clear that there are many points to be compared. I have developed an article of 128 pages, and in my publication, I refer to different parallels and compare different approaches of these two thinkers. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Mammad, for this wonderful presentation and for sharing with us the core of your extensive research. I would like to open the floor to anybody who wants to ask questions or make some comments. If you can maybe raise a hand, and then I can make sure that I give you the floor for a question. So let me see, is anybody reacting? Maybe it's a bit. It's the end of the day, and we're all a bit tired. I don't know if anybody wants to. I go through all the participants, and I do not see reactions or questions that are raised. So I think I will thank you both for your very interesting interventions, and I look Professor Geybullayeva maybe for some guidelines. Otherwise, I think I will declare the panel closed. This is the end of the day, and I see that Professor Geybullayeva is giving us a rendezvous tomorrow for the continuation of our active interest and discovery of the contact points between Dante and Nizami. So thank you very much to everyone, and I think we can close the session. Bye bye, and see you tomorrow.